What's up guys, Card Protagonist here, and today we'll be doing a deck profile on the Legend World Laevateinn Savage deck from the brand new booster New World Chaos. So before I begin this video, there's one common question that most people has been asking me. Which has the better overkill ability, the old Laevateinn or the brand new Laevateinn Savage? And the answer is situational, because I feel that Laevateinn Savage is actually much more consistent. However, you still have to pay the cost for the weapon caught by its ability, because these weapons are being searched from the deck. Whereas the old Laevateinn, even though it is not so consistent because you will have to look at the top 5 cards of the deck, which may or may not have a weapon, is core cost free. They have their pros and cons and you want to use them depending on the situation. However, my favorite combo is to call Laevateinn Savage and search out for Laevateinn by paying its 2 gauge cost, because gauge is no longer a problem in this deck with all the draw power and gauge we have. So once you activate Laevateinn Savage overkill skill, you'll be able to call Laevateinn. This allows you to equip a lot of weapons in your deck, so you can actually equip as many weapons as you want, as long as you're able to pay their equip cost. So yeah, so without further ado, let's begin the deck profile. What is the winning image of the new Laevateinn Savage deck? Right now, the Legend World has gotten a lot of brand new upgrades, improving the consistency of the deck. This includes lots of search power and lots of draw power for Legend World in general. So right now, this deck is capable of doing OTKs with some combos I'll be explaining later. Alright, so let's begin. So the buddy I play is the SP Laevateinn. His art is fantastic. Basically, Laevateinn is very unique because it is one of those weapons similar to Durandal, which allows you to buddy call when you equip an item. Unfortunately, this card does not have can be equipped as a buddy, because this, if you can see, the text says this card can be your buddy, but this one doesn't say. Otherwise, usually I'll be using this card. Oh, speaking of this card, the art is amazing on the brand new SP from New World Chaos, and I really love it. This is one of my favorite SPs in this set, so I definitely have to get one copy of it because it just looks so sick. So the only buddy we are allowed to use in this deck is obviously the old Laevateinn, and of course this is a Legend World deck, so I have to use one of my favorite Legend World flags, which is from my Zodiac deck. So let's get started with the deck profile. So first up, play 4 copies of Laevateinn Savage. This card is totally savage, no pun intended. So Laevateinn Savage ability is, he has the equip cost of discarding 1, which is not too bad, because you won't have a lot of gauge for your Laevateinn, especially if you use your overkill, because this has equip cost of 2. Discard 1 to equip this guy. At the beginning of your attack phase, you may equip a hero item from your drop zone by paying its equip cost. So it's great because it basically is kind of like the Gnome Upgrader Gear God, because battle phase can get 1 free monster or get 1 free item in this case. And it's just generally a really good card, and his overkill skill is just fantastic. Especially right now, your opening hand, previously opening hand you always want to have the old Laevateinn, but right now the new Laevateinn or old Laevateinn fulfills the role. It itself alone is also quite useless because you won't be able to equip multiple items. So he's just there because his overkill guarantees your old Laevateinn in order to do aggressive plays. So let's try 4 copies of the Laevateinn Savage. Alright, so let us go on to the second most important card of the deck, which is the old Laevateinn. I only play 3 copies is because the new Laevateinn replaces its usage, and most of the time you want to go into the new Laevateinn Savage to search it out. So equip cost, pay 2 gauge if you have no monsters on the field. By the way, if you're playing this deck, do not add monsters in the deck unless they are Widow, because our Widows are usually discarded for extra pluses. So this card on the field cannot be destroyed. You cannot call monsters onto the field, and you may equip any number of items. So this is the key of the deck. With this, you'll be able to flood field with weapons and swing them one by one, give you tons of attacks. You can go up to 10 attacks easily with this deck. However, there's a drawback to this. All items in your hand gets an extra cost of 1 gauge. So if you're calling from the drop zone from its ability, you do not need to pay the extra 1 gauge. But if you're just equipping from the hand, you have to pay 1 gauge and discard 1. So be very careful, and usually what you do is you equip one item first, then you equip it, because this way the item won't get destroyed because of ability. So pro tip, equip an item first before equipping this and using its skill, and so on. So yeah. Overkill skill. Pay 1 gauge and discard a card from your hand. Look at the top 5 cards of the deck and choose any number of swords and equip them without paying its equip cost. They are good and bad of this ability. First off, the good thing is if you get the items, it is free. So if you manage to equip your Excalibur Replica, it is really damn good. However, if you're not confident, I highly recommend you to just use Laevateinn Savage overkill skill, because this way you'll be guaranteed to get your items. Now we play 4 copies of Excalibur Replica. This is the replacement for Excalibur, and it is really very good for this deck. He is the main push of the deck, and this card easily kills Chaos, which is one of the good things about the Legend World deck. It is one of those decks that can stay up to the almighty Chaos. First thing is because it has the Penetrate ability, and secondly is whenever it attacks, your opponent cannot cast counter, so they won't be able to cast Machining Sacrifice, which is one of the biggest problems against most of the meta decks. So yeah, generally just a great pusher. Its equip cost is just discard one card of the hand, which is not a problem because we have so much draw power. And if you discard one card hand, you can always discard Albedo to give you even more pluses. Your opponent can't use counter, and it's very powerful. Next, 2 copies of Scabbard. Scabbard is just there in case you want to search out whichever Sword of the King. This whole deck, all the weapons belongs to the Sword of the King. So basically, this allows you to toolbox any Sword of the King in your deck. So yeah, play 2 copies just in case you want to search out some tech cards you want to play. Next is 2 copies of the Vampire Sword. I really like this card because it gives you so much pluses in a single card. Ability Blood Sucking King. When this card attacks, hits, or deals damage to your opponent. So basically, if this card destroys a monster or deals damage to your opponent, it has 1 crit only. So your opponent might want to think twice before guarding. You may charge 1 gauge, gain 2 life, and draw 1 card. 2 copies of Albedo Sword. I like to call it Albedo Sword because it allows you to plus when you discard him. To put it briefly, when this card is discarded from your hand, you can basically just retrieve it from the drop zone by paying 1 gauge, which is good because there's a lot of discard effects. Overkill and a bunch of spells causes you to discard, so basically it's kind of like a free cost at 1 gauge. So equip it to do an extra attack. So yeah, 2 copies. And it's a Chaos. Next is 1 copy of Unsigned Iron Sword. Its ability is whichever card has a 10k attack power, this card gains 20k shield. So just like that, you become 30k and they won't be able to hit. It's very, very powerful against the Chaos Buds. Chaos Buds usually has power of 10k power, which means this guy instantly becomes 23k defense, and they won't be able to hit you. So yeah, they usually have to destroy this card just to attack you. Really good card. Oh, another thing to note is with tech cards in this deck, if I'm using Laevateinn Savage, I usually overkill to search for Laevateinn to fulfill the multi-equip cost, and then I'll equip whichever tech I need. Let's say if I want to have some life gain, I'll usually go for Blood Sucking King, or if I'm going to against matchup with a huge aggression like Chaos or Thunder Empire, I'll equip this because this really stops all the huge attackers. Yeah, so one thing to note is whichever choice you use with Laevateinn Savage is very important. So if you're playing this deck, do take note and practice your matchups. And this is my favorite card, the Chamber card. So what the Chamber does is counter, you can rest this card, and you can give 1 card the ability to resend. Especially good with your Excalibur because Excalibur can't be nullified when attacking alone, and it has Penetrate, so usually once Excalibur is rested, I will pay 1 gauge and rest this. Excalibur resends, attack 1 more time. So yeah, there's extra attack, and this art is really interesting because it doesn't look like a sword, but it's an item. It's basically a gallery. Next is 1 copy of Curvy Sword. I can't read their name because they have strange names. Alright, so it's a pay 1 life cost. This card is really interesting because against certain matchups which bounce back your Laevateinn, you are screwed. So most of the times I usually have this standby if I suspect my opponent has the ability to bounce back cards, because the skill is if another sword will be bounced back to the hand, you can send this to drop zone to prevent it from bouncing back. So yep, just there against those pesky bounce cards. One copy of Nalgo Replica, gives you extra gauge when you attack. So yeah, charging gauge, and it's a free cost. So during your Laevateinn Savage enter battle phase skill, you can just call it out and swing for extra gauge, so you can pay for Infect. 1 copy of these just to go against Atora. Damage dealt to you other than by attacks are reduced by 1. So Atora's Overturn won't be able to OTK you because they won't be you won't be able to take the cheap burn damage, which is great. 1 copy of King's Arma's Replica. Arma's Replica is just basically there as a negate. You can counter, send this card to the drop zone, and pay 1 life if you do nullify attack. Just 1 copy as attack because we don't replay a lot of shields in this deck, and this card is just a nice 5k beat stick as well. Now 4 copies of Albedo, because there's a lot of discard cost in this deck and it gives you a charge and draw when this card is discarded. Ability is when this card is discarded from your hand, you can charge 1 card and draw 1 card. So yep, instant +1. Really love this card in Zodiac, and I love this card in this deck as well. 4 copies because really there's too many discard cards in this deck. Alright, let us go on to the spells right now. 4 copies of Infallible Blade Wall. The artwork is simply cool. It is a spell that is really flexible, so In order to activate this ability, you will have to put one item or monster with the hero attribute from the field into the drop zone. Then you can either 1, the next damage dealt to you will be reduced to 0. So if anything is coming with 10 crit or 5 crit or 3 crit, those painful, you can just sack one of your weapons. The least important weapon like these, you just sack them off to reduce the damage, or you can draw a card. This ability can be used both on your opponent's turn or your turn. So it's great because it gives you small draw power and some defensive capabilities in the deck. So 4 copies of Infallible Blade War. Artwork's awesome. Next is 4 copies of Bloody Holy Grail. Fantastic card because not only you'll be able to nullify attack, you can fetch back a hero card back to your hand. So all these cards are hero in the deck. Even Albedo itself, most of the cards in the deck is hero. So basically you'll be able to 2-box any stuff from the drop zone back into your hand, excluding itself. If you guys want to play one tech copy of Holy Grail, the old one is cool because you can like use the old Holy Grail, then use this Holy Grail, take back the old Holy Grail and use the whole Holy Grail again. Yeah, that's one really defensive combo. But this deck is an OTK deck, so I don't really play that much. Next is 3 copies of Vanguard. They have strange names, I swear. But it's a powerful ability. Cast cost, discard a card from my hand, so I will usually discard Albedo. If you do, draw 2 cards, really easy. So discard this, then draw 2 cards, replenish your hand size. Then Albedo skill, charge and draw, just like that. You get a huge hand size. One of my favorite cards in the deck. Next is 3 copies of Merlin Advice. Merlin used to be a monster, but I think just because the sword deck doesn't want you to play monsters, he became a spell. You may cast this card if you have a hero on the field. Look at the top 3 cards of the deck, and among them put one of them into your gauge, one of them into your hand, and the rest in the drop zone. So since this is a full hero deck, it's basically a charge and draw, which allows you to look at top 3, charge and draw, which is really good. Fantastic card in this deck. Really like it and really important. Unfortunately, it's a once per turn, so I only play 3 because we have a lot of draw power, so chances of drawing into him is really high. Next is 3 copies of Heroic Tale. So Heroic Tale is a hyper energy of deck. You can only cast this card if you have a hero on the field, which is this is a full hero deck, and you can charge 4 gauge. Great in this deck because there's quite a lot of gauge cost in this deck. Next are some tech cards that I play, and I'm currently testing them out. 1 copy of Bubble Tea. I call it Bubble Tea because there's 2 pearls. Alright, so its ability is you may cast this card if you have 2 or more chaos on the field. I play this combo because most of the time my setup is like this. There will be instantly 2 chaos, and a lot of my weapons in the deck is chaos as well. So paying 1 gauge to draw 2 cards into your hand, fantastic because you can draw more weapons, draw more nice spells that you can use. Right, so yeah, there's some pretty cool tech. If you guys want to play it, you guys can play. Otherwise, you can play 2 copies of this, because this card allows you to end the battle phase. Its skill is at the end of your opponent's first attack, you may pay 2 life and 2 gauge if you do end the battle phase. But beware, because right now there's so many cards that gives you extra battle phase. So that's why I cut this card down, because yeah, they could actually just continue a battle phase, which is not too cool. But otherwise, other than the chaos matchup, which we have reboot or the mirror match, I would usually just side this out because it's kind of useless in there. Yep, so do consider these cards if you want to. Highly recommend you to try this out, and depending on meta, you can change them. This might be a little hard to find because it's used in so many Legend WoW decks. Yep. And finally, one of my favorite impacts in the game because the artwork is sick. 4 copies of Taboo Savage Form. Wow, when I first saw this card, I was so shocked. I was like, what happened to you, Laevateinn? Yep, so Laevateinn has this new form, which is Savage Form. You may cast this card if you have no monster on the field, which is pretty much guaranteed. Pay 3 gauge, equip 1 hero item from your deck without paying its equip cost, so it's basically a free cost. Usually I'll equip that Excalibur, and shuffle your deck. Then you get another attack phase. That's crazy, because right now your newly summoned Excalibur will get to double attack again. And if they were to use stuff that end the battle phase, you can punish them because you go back to the battle phase anyway. Now do note that if you enter the battle phase, your whatever that has already attacked will be in rest, so they won't be able to attack unless your battle phase got ended. Hope you guys know what I mean. Very powerful card though. 3 gauge for extra 2 attacks is very nice, and gauge is not a problem in this deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed my deck profile on the Laevateinn Savage deck. If you guys would like to see more Buddyfight deck profiles, please leave a like on this video and subscribe for Buddyfight videos every Saturday. So what Buddyfight decks from the latest booster would you guys like to see? Please leave a comment down below. And if you guys are looking for constructed decks or Buddyfight singles, be sure to check out www.buddy-mart.com and support me. Thank you guys for watching, peace out and love you guys. Rawr.